Now I'm going to get into something a little bit more advanced. Everybody say intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. Let me have my little board here. So intermittent fasting. So I'm going to introduce you. Now we've taken some steps, right? We've gone from making small changes. We talked about the core plan. We talked about the advanced plan. Now we're going to get into something a little bit more advanced, okay? Intermittent fasting is not a diet. It's actually just a way of eating, okay? It's not a diet. It's just a way of eating. So I'm going to actually walk you through how to do it. This is a pattern of eating. And what I want to do, is this good? I think, Zoe, let's try and set this up. Let's take that one down, and we'll put that one up. And so we'll unpack. How many of you have done intermittent fasting? Wow, quite a few of you. I love it. Okay, so one really, really important benefit of intermittent fasting, when you start to get in the 40s and higher, you actually start to diminish in one of the really important hormones, and it's called growth hormone, HGH. We actually start to diminish in that hormone. That's why bone loss starts to be a concern, things like that. And so what intermittent fasting is really important for is healing and helping with these two hormones, HGH and insulin, okay? So the important thing about HGH is that actually is what puts on the lean muscle. It helps your bones to be stronger, okay? And if you actually have HGH or insulin is actually present in your system at the same time as you have that, this will actually cancel that out. So doing this program, this pattern of actually eating, will actually help to decrease your insulin levels, okay? So for those of you who have dealt with blood sugar issues, this is fantastic for that. Now, you don't go cold turkey and do what Dr. David and I are doing right now. There's a process that you do and a pattern that you do to transition when you're doing intermittent fasting, okay? But the two hormones I really want you to pay attention to is the ones that actually are like HGH anti-aging. It's actually helpful for burning fat off. It's helpful for, your lean muscle. It's helpful for building bone. Like, this is just a fantastic, really, really important hormone, and the best way to do it is intermittent fasting. So there's a couple things you need to pay attention to. There's a fasting window and a feeding window. I'm calling it a feeding, not an eating, but say fasting window. Now say feeding window. So the fasting window is the period of time in which you're not eating anything except for fluids. And if you have coffee, you don't put cream in it. You don't put butter in it. It's literally because it causes a digestive response. So you're just having fluids, and you can actually exercise, and that'll be when you rest, you work, you can exercise, but you're in your fasting window. And I'll walk through this transition. I just want to get the basic points down first with you guys. In your feeding window, that'll be when you eat however many meals you're eating, okay? That's going to be your feeding window, okay? Everybody with me? Okay. So in your first step to doing the transition for intermittent fasting, many of you are doing this right now where you have 5 meals, and they consist of breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. You guys good with that? So this may be your first step to transition. If this is where you are, where you eat a lot of food throughout the day, then your very next step would be, as long as these meals are all good meals based upon your core or advanced plan, like your choice that you just made, then you can switch to 3 meals, and it might take you 2-3 weeks to do it, okay? You can switch to 3 meals, and those would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so you're dropping your snacks off. Now, I'm not even talking about fasting yet. I'm just talking about the first step to transition, okay? Everybody with me? Okay. Then the next step, after you've been there, if that's where you are now, then you might, or you're just transitioning there, you might take a couple weeks, making sure that your fats are high. High fat will help you be more satisfied. High fat. So stay away from the stuff that says low fat. Make sure you're having high fat foods. High fat foods will make you be full. Okay? Then what we do from this transition, we're actually going to split into 3 meals that will be intermittent fasting. Okay? You're going to pick your window in which you actually do this. Some people will do it between 12 and 8. They like that window. That means every other time from 8 until 12 the next day, you'll be doing just fluids, okay? And you can exercise again, like we said. Some people like 11 to 7. That seems to be a pretty common one, 11 to 7. And some people are very unusual and do it like Dr. David and I, and most of you won't do it like we do. But we actually do it from 6:30 to about 12:30. So we have a 6-hour window. Yes, ma'am. 11 in the morning until 7 at night. Yeah, so some people you'll eat. So your feeding window will be from 11 in the morning until 7 at night. And if you go to bed at 10, that gives you 3 hours post. That gives you 3 hours post, before you go to bed, which is good. So can everybody understand the feeding window? That's the time when you eat all of your food. Okay, everybody with me? Okay. Then the next transition that you'll do after you've been there for a few weeks. Now, remember, in this phase, as long as your fats are high, and we're talking about 65% of your food intake for the day is fat. 65. And 25% is protein, and 10% is carbs coming from what sources? Low glycemic. Okay? So 65, as long as your fat is high, then what you've done is you've actually helped yourself boost your HGH and decrease your insulin levels. You guys with me? You're not with me. Carbs. Is everybody with me? Okay, with me. Are you scared? Okay, good. All right, then the very last step, after you've been at this phase for a little while, you could be at this phase for a year. But if you can be at this stage for a little while and you want to take it up to another notch, then what you can do is have 2 meals a day. And you can even change your window. Maybe your window isn't 8 hours, maybe it's 6. You can even go as long as a 4-hour feeding window. I've seen that. In fact, in this magazine right here, this magazine I found, and it's Time magazine. This is Science of Weight Loss. Literally, this is everything I'm talking about today. It's in this, and this is actually the first time I picked up a magazine like this, and I liked it. Okay? So this magazine gets into the science. There's a whole lot out there about the science behind intermittent fasting. And so you can do a feeding window of 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. 8 hours seems to be the most popular, and then the rest of the time you're fasting. Everybody with me? Okay, good. Then the very last thing that's really, really important that what you can do on this is add, if you want to intensify your results, get the maximum results, then what you would do is you would add high-intensity training, like Max T3, like Orange Theory, like CrossFit. Okay? You just add some of this high-intensity workout, that will even surge your hormones even higher.